Hey guys, we're the Jersey Comic Crew, and in today's video we're talking about the Mandalorian Season 2 finale. It is Chapter 16, The Rescue, guys. Stay tuned for a recap, Easter eggs, and all that good Star Wars news.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Jersey Comic Crew. Chris and Rob here to break down The Mandalorian, Chapter 16, The Rescue. Arguably one of the greatest Star Wars moments in Star Wars history. I stopped crying long enough to do this video for you guys right here and right now. And we're going to go right into some Rob's recaps. We're going to throw in the Easter eggs, and obviously we'll talk about that big finale and what will be in store for the future. Make sure to check out our other video where we're going to go down into Speculationville and Theoryville.
Oh, yeah.
And as always, massive spoiler alert for the last episode of Season 2 of The Mandalorian. And you have been warned. And now we are going to blow this wide open. So go ahead, Rob.
Baby Yoda dies. Boom. No, okay. I'm kidding. Baby. That's okay. He's okay. He's okay. See, he's there. No, all right. So the episode starts off hot and heavy, just like I predicted, guys. We see Boba Fett and the crew are following an Imperial shuttle, right? They're going back and forth, and we see Dr. Pershing's on that shuttle. Eventually, they get stunned. Boba Fett's ship, Slave One, docks on there. We see the Mandalorian, Din Djarin, and Cara Dune come in. The two Imperial guards are there holding Dr. Pershing's hostage. The one Imperial guard shoots the other one and says, hey, don't come any closer. Dr. Pershing, he's a very important man, and if you get him killed or do something, it's going to be on your head. Then he starts trash talking with Cara Dune. He's like, oh, I see the teardrop. Alderaan exploded, right? I was on the Death Star. I saw millions of people die. And Cara Dune's like, which Death Star? Kind of going back and forth.
That was also very funny because I was like, teardrops mean something completely different in my neighborhood.
Yeah, right? I was like, wait a minute.
It's like teardrop. So yeah, the actual discussion they just had between Cara Dune and that Imperial officer, jabbing about the death of Alderaan, jabbing back about the deaths on both Death Stars. He gets very serious when she mentions the Death Star deaths. Mm-hmm. It's like millions of people died. That's always been a talking point through the Star Wars galaxy about, like, hey, I know Luke blows up the Death Star, both of them, and that's great, and everyone's like, hurrah, but are there a bunch of innocents that are just like, hey, this guy works in the tech department, or hey, this guy works here, and all those lives that have been dead. So it's interesting to see an actual Imperial Guard bring that up in real time.
Just like you said, and I'm sure there's plenty of people who worked on the Death Star who did it because they only had the option to. There's plenty of innocent civilian casualties that they just couldn't handle. They couldn't tell who's good or who's not. When in war, you just see the other side as villains and evil. You don't really see all the innocent lives at stake. So after the trash talk between the two, Cara Dune shoots him right in the face. Dr. Pershing's ears ringing. They get Dr. Pershing onto the ship. Then we see them land on some new industrial planet. And we see there's a bunch of spaceships outside. We see Boba Fett and Mando going into the bar to look for someone.
Those spaceships that you mentioned when we land, those are very reminiscent. Those are like Mandalorian kind of fighters. You see them all throughout Clone Wars. And Bo-Katan has basically been using one ever since. We didn't see them in the last episode that she was in because they were doing other things, but Those are very much Mandalorian fighters or starfighters, if you will. That scene where Rob just said where they go into the cantina, Boba Fett and Mando, very similar to the very first ever scene we see in The Mandalorian back in season 1, where Mando walks into a bar, right? And he does the whole thing there. Very reminiscent, same feel, vibe, and coloration, very dark, everyone kind of hiding in their drink. So that was really cool to see with Boba Fett as well.
So seeing them go into the bar, as Chris just said, everybody in the bar gets nervous. They start leaving. Mando asks Bo-Katan for help. He's like, listen, they got the kid. It's the Empire. It's Moff Gideon. I have his coordinates. And Bo-Katan's essentially right-hand lady, if you will, Sasha Banks' character, and Boba Fett are going at each other. They're very aggressive towards each other. And then Bo-Katan's like, he's not real Mando. He's a clone. I've heard your voice thousands of times. She's like, I don't know if I can trust you. Boba Fett insults Bo-Katan. Out of nowhere, Bo-Katan's right-hand lady starts punching Boba Fett. They start having a brawl in the middle of the thing. And we see Sasha Banks' character do a real cool wrestling move with a jetpack. So she can do a flip, throw him through a table. They both throw fire at each other. And Bo-Katan's like, stop it, you idiots. If we had half this spine, we wouldn't have lost our planet.
Very, very great recap, Rob. And I almost, I was waiting for someone to be like, Mando fight or something ridiculous. Like a high school, like, cafeteria. But yeah, we have a bunch of Easter eggs going on during those little, like, kind of quippy riffs back and forth. One, Bo-Katan, as Rob said, mentions, refers to him as a clone. She's heard his voice 1,000 times.
Mm-hmm.
And he calls her Your Highness as like kind of a jab back and forth because she's obviously not on the throne of Mandalore.
Mm-hmm.
So in those jabs, one, that tells me they know who each other, like they know who each other are, right? Like they kind of know.
At least know of each other, right?
Know of each other. They've heard of each other. There is some type of familiarity there, we could say.
Mm-hmm.
No, and we get a confirmation that we're talking about the clone heritage back in episode 2, where we know Jango Fett made Boba Fett as a clone who doesn't age rapidly, ages like a normal human, so he had someone to pass everything down towards. Din Djarin doesn't know that Boba's a clone, and that was very interesting to me too, as well as how does Boba kind of know she's royalty or she's the sister of Satine who used to rule Mandalore. So all very interesting quips.
I'm sure we're going to get that truth unfold in future seasons of the show or in other shows. Bo-Katan agreed to help Mando, but with a condition. She says, I'll help you. You have to give me the ship so I can take back Mandalore. And I want Moff Gideon. I want to take care of him. He took something very valuable to me. So she jumps on Slave One. They start planning on how to take out the ship. And we get this very cool like spy espionage scene that comes up, right? But before all that happens, Pershing drops some very interesting information. He says that there are Phase 3 Dark Troopers on that ship that we need to take care of.
Those Phase 3 Dark Troopers are a big Easter egg in what we were kind of talking about when we saw them the first time. As in the original lore in the books and the video games, there were 3 phases that involved, they were kind of like almost like Iron Man suits. Like they were humans or some type of, alien inside of these. And now they are completely just robotic. And that's a big thing because that's also kind of taking some of that, as Favreau and Filoni like to do, some of those little things from the expanded universe that may or may not be canon back into canon. So Pershing kind of helps them in that way of saying, hey, by the way, these things don't have a weakness really, and
Correct.
Be careful.
Well, we also find out a small jump ahead that they are force sensitive, just like in the extended universe, which we'll get to later. So the plan gets acted into action. We see most of the crew members of Mandalorian's Suicide Squad are on the Imperial shuttle flying towards Moff Gideon's ship, and then we have Boba Fett and the Slave One following behind them, fake shooting at them to make it look like they're in danger. We get this beautiful, and I swear, most beautiful scene that I've had in a long time of the TIE fighters coming out and flowing out. I audibly said out to Mike, who I was watching with, I was like, listen, this is beautiful. This is what Star Wars is. Like, you have time to take the 30 seconds to show them coming out on the trails. It looked so nice. They sent out 2 TIE fighters. The Imperial shuttle was crash landed inside. Boba Fett real quick kills them, jumps into hyperspace. Plan is enacted. Everybody starts going to being distracted, just decimating all the stormtroopers. Mando comes out and we hear the theme song, essentially the music for the Mandalorian show. He starts slithering away, trying to get to where the brig is, where Baby Yoda is, or I should say Grogu. On his way there, he sees the Dark Troopers coming out. Very menacing, almost like evil technos coming out, Chris. I was vibing with that. I was like, yeah, they're going to mess it up. What's going to happen here? One gets out, holds it up, and Mando barely survives. If he wasn't wearing Beskar, 100% dead. Anybody else, dead. He punched him like 5 times in the face, gave himself 7 concussions, sets him on fire. The robot's like, oh, I'm on fire now. You're in trouble. I'm going to throw you across the room. And then Mando does a Mel Gibson Patriot moment. He takes the spear, turns around and stabs him. Sends
the American flag.
Right? That's exactly what I thought. After he stabs him, he finally gets away enough to pull the lever crunk and send all the robots out into space.
Yeah, it was a great moment. It reminded me of Age of Ultron, where it's like, go to sleep, where Tony Stark's punching the hell out of Hulk.
Yes.
And it was just Mando just taking the blows over and over again. And yeah, they were like almost like ridiculous. They were almost like Gundam level ridiculous of just they wouldn't die. Nothing could
No.
stop it. And then the whole time, I think you were doing the same thing. I was like, "Where's the Beskar spear?
Yes.
You pull it out and stab him with it."
Is that armor made out of Beskar? Like, why are they so hard, these robots? I don't know what it's made out of.
No idea. Not confirmed that they're made of Beskar, but if not, something almost as strong, because the Beskar steel did take it out. So it's got to be something right under that. Who knows?
Next, it cuts to the rest of the gang. They're making their way through the rest of the ship, exploding stuff. The girls. Sorry, I shouldn't say girls. The women are kicking ass beautifully, but we get to the part we care about. Mando finding Grogu. Mando uses his spear, takes out 2 clone troopers really quick, like Donatello from the Ninja Turtles. Gets in there. We see Moff Gideon's dumbass with the Darksaber holding it over Baby Yoda. And I'm like, you kill Baby Yoda, I'm going to George Lucas's house and slap him in the face. And then he's like, listen, you want this sword? I know. He's like, I don't care about the sword. You keep the sword. Fuck Bo-Katan. Just give me my baby back. He's like, all right, go get the baby. I'm going to leave. We'll be good. He goes to get the baby, turns the Darksaber on, starts freaking slashing him and hitting him and thing. And again, if he didn't have Beskar armor, dead. And he's blocking, he's taking the thing. And I was like, get the Beskar spear. Get the Beskar spear. They have a great battle back and forth. I thought Beskar spear was going to get cut in half because it got hot. Like, it looks like bright orange. I was like, what? So eventually, Mando does beat him, spares his life. And instead of killing him, he holds him essentially hostage. He's going to capture him.
It was phenomenal from start to finish. And yeah, just throwing some Easter eggs out there for you guys in between. He mentions Bo-Katan, I took it from her. He says it specifically. So that's something I want to see, number one.
Oh, yeah.
And number two, he's referring to some period of time where we know Bo-Katan had it during Star Wars Rebels. And during that time period where she got it back and was wielding it after Death Watch was finished. And then, obviously, during, Moff Gideon's great speech, which also the first time we've seen him and Din Djarin talk in person, like face to face,
yeah.
right? Like, even in season 1, it wasn't like that. But he mentions that, I've gotten what I need from him anyway. That's why he's so willing to give Baby Yoda up, or Grogu up. He's like, I have his blood. I have what I need from him. The doctors will do the rest. That, to me, is still referencing the First Order or something to do with... I'm still thinking it's Snoke, because he says specifically that it will help bring order to the galaxy again, which we've heard so many times.
I agree with you 100%. When he said order, I turned to people I was watching it. I was like, oh, First Order. Actually, I think the person said, what kind of order? I was like, the First Order. I was like, there it goes.
Appetizer order, perhaps?
Some mozzarella sticks.
Ooh, that sounds good.
Mando enters the control room with everybody else, and we see Mando in his full glory. He has Moff Gideon as a prisoner. He has the Beskar spear on his back, Darth Saber lit in his hand, Baby Yoda in the other hand. My man is stacked with all the endgame loot. He is ready for anything. He comes in and says, I got the baby. Here's Moff Gideon. We're good. I have the sword. And then Moff Gideon's like, what are you going to do, Bo-Katan? You're going to kill him to take the sword? And Mando's like, what are you talking about? Moff Gideon says that the sword has to be won by combat. He's like, well, I yield. Just take the thing. Here, just take it. I don't want it. Have it.
That is absolutely 100% correct. And that is something that is lored throughout. Rebels really is what kind of showed us into that, where we kind of had that same situation with Sabine and Bo-Katan. Like, Bo-Katan won it from Sabine in a fair combat trial, which Sabine didn't really want it anyway either. And now this Easter egg right here, where it technically belongs to Din Djarin, which is very much akin to, like, the Elder Wand in Harry Potter. You have to take it from somebody, and it'll only answer to you. That, to me, is going to be a huge setup for season 3, if you kind of get where I'm going.
Definitely. I mean, it's also it's not the inherent to the saber. I want to make sure that's clear to everybody.
Yes.
Like Moff Gideon says, the story has it. And I'm assuming because Moff Gideon's alive and they can't lie and break the story, obviously Bo-Katan is probably going to have to challenge Din Djarin down the road in season 3 or maybe another season.
This is almost a part of her faith or religion, if you will. So I don't think she's going to just take it back
No.
easily like that anyway. She wants to earn it. She wants to do it the way of her ancestors as well, and that's going to be a big thing. And now I would like to sit here and just listen to you say the rest of these recaps,
I
because
got you.
I'll just wait till the end. You won't hear from me for the next couple minutes.
So, just when you think everything is good, sensors going off, alarms, and we're getting hostiles incoming. How many life forms? 0. What do you mean 0? Oh, crap. It's the Death Troopers. Death Troopers come back. The evil techno music is back. And you're like, oh my God, he barely beat one. But he has a Darksaber now. He might be okay, right? And they're all gearing up, and we see the Death Troopers marching up. Boom, boom, boom. My heart, boom, boom, boom. And then one X-Wing comes in, and I'm sitting here, and I'm like, 2 thoughts immediately came to mind. I was like, oh, Ahsoka. We saw Ahsoka in the recap. I was like, all right, we see these people in the recap. That means they're probably going to be here, right? And then a part of me was like, wait a minute. What if it's Luke? I was like, nah. Shut your dirty mouth. It's Ahsoka, right? So I'm sitting there at the edge of my seat. We see a Jedi comes out in cloak. I'm like, could be anybody. Cool. Grogu is like, eh. So obviously Grogu knows who it is. That's the person they connected with the Force, right? And then we see a lightsaber, a single lightsaber in the TV, in the black and white screen, cuts people down. And I'm like, okay, it's not Ahsoka. Maybe it's Ezra Bridger. It could be anybody. Maybe it is Luke Skywalker. Maybe it's just Ahsoka with the one. We don't know. And then the light turns green. And I'm like, okay, it's either Bridger or it's Skywalker. Like, I don't know. My brother over there saying, it's Luke. I was like, it can't be Luke. They're not going to bring Luke into this. That's insane. And then I was like, wait a minute. That black outfit does kind of look Skywalkerish. He's demolishing the Darksabers, guys. He is just, he's choking him. He's breaking him. He force chokes one. He throws another one. He pulls one in, slices it up. And I'm like, that's a glove on my hand. That has to be Luke, mother effing Skywalker. And I'm like, maybe it's not. Let's not get my hopes up, but it's not. And finally, the Jedi is getting out to the door. Din Djarin grabs Baby Yoda. He says, open the door. They're like, what are you insane? I was like, yo, shut up. Nobody cares about you, Fennec, right now. Just open the door. We need to see who it is. The door's so open. True. The hood lifts up. It's Luke Skywalker. I'm blowing my mind. I freaked out. I paused. I did 3 laps around the whole block. And then I came back in. And I'm like, oh my God, it is Luke Skywalker. And then we get the scene that breaks my heart. Din Djarin has to pass Grogu off to his new master Skywalker. And, you know, he's saying his goodbyes. Grogu's trying to touch his face. He takes off his helmet so that way his son... I'm going to cry, guys. So his son can see him, and they have this beautiful moment. Puts Grogu down on the floor. Grogu walks over there, the cutest walk I've ever seen in all of Star Wars. Then you see R2-D2, because he's the narrator of all things God. He comes in, he's playing with the baby. He's like, do. And the baby's like, ah! So it's great. Luke Skywalker grabs the baby and has a happy little moment. Walks off. Everybody's standing in the distance, just looking, and, you know, pretty much wave goodbye. And I'm sitting here to myself. I was like, oh my God, is this the end? This is the end of the show. Like, his story is done.
I don't know. That was a fantastic interpretive dance-esque experience I just went through with you.
I hope you guys like it.
It's so, you know, anyone who knows me knows that Mark Hamill, Luke Skywalker, is one of my childhood heroes. He's my favorite character in this entire series. There wasn't a part where I didn't think they were going to bring him back at all. And it is confirmed. Like, Mark Hamill came back, and then they did that beautiful Disney de-aging process that they've been doing in the Marvel movies, and we saw in Rogue One. And, you know, before obviously we get our final thoughts and explain some stuff, the Easter eggs from the finale of this chunk that Rob just explained start with the X-Wing, which is also when the X-Wing comes into view. That's when if you want to follow along with my choke up meter, that's when it started, where I started going, what? No, it looked like Red 5. It was the Red 5. And he lands the green lightsaber, obviously, is what Luke had during Return of the Jedi. He made it right before the movie, which we know isn't canon. Yeah. He used it during Return of the Jedi. That's what he used to beat the Emperor and Darth Vader with. We saw the glove on his hand, the black glove. He's missing a hand from Empire Strikes Back, where Vader cuts it off. Obviously, R2 showing up because R2 is his droid that is in his X-Wing at all times. And, of course, like as Rob said, R2 is this narrated throughout this story, which makes it even more celeste and beautiful. He mentions that he's going to train him and that he's going to teach him how to use his power.
Oh, yes.
And that is, to me, obviously the start or some sort of introduction to Luke's Jedi Academy, which obviously Ben Solo is a part of in the prequels and sequels, and going forth from there. And wow, Mando taking his helmet off to let Grogu see his face.
That's where I broke
which
down.
obviously, to me, which just intensified it. That's when the snot started coming out. But that just shows me and the audience as well that his religious beliefs have been starting to be melded by his interactions with characters, with Bo-Katan, with Ahsoka. What he had to do in the episode prior to get the info with Mayfeld was a big part of that as well. And to see him kind of become this, humanized dad, which we don't know his future. We don't know the future of this character right now. It's a big question, which we'll talk about in the next episode. But yeah, before we get into that first credit scene, I just want to say, wow, in 2020, a year that's been so shit, if you can make me feel things like this, which normal humans can't, by the way, I'm just putting that out there. Like, human beings don't care, but stuff like this, if
weird puppet alien, of course.
Yeah, obviously, and if this is what you can do to not only take a story that started with a guy walking into a bar with no face to this point in time now where we are looking back and going, wow, this to me is what Star Wars is about. If you're a casual fan of Star Wars, if you're just getting into Star Wars, if you're a diehard like me and a lifelonger like me, this to me is the best thing I've seen in Star Wars since Empire Strikes Back.
I agree. This show has made me fall deeper in love and has it started to turn me into a Star Wars superfan because I was like, this is how Star Wars should be, in my opinion. If the shows are even half as good or near as good, I was like, I just want shows. I don't even need movies. Like, these are all so good, and it takes me into the world again of Star Wars. It makes me fall in love with it the way, like, when I was a little kid watching the shows.
Same.
But yes, guys, it's not over. There is a post-credit scene because Disney knows Marvel, and they're like friends. And like, hey, go do this. They're gonna lose their mind. So the post-credit scene we see Tatooine. We see Fennec enters Jabba's old palace, starts killing everybody there, sets free one of the slave girls. Boba Fett comes in, pulls out a gun, shoots that weird alien in the chest, throws him off the throne, and then you see Boba Fett like a boss, like a G, like a straight up gangster, sits on the chair. You see Fennec as the right hand man, sits on there with a blue milk. And then it cuts, and then you see the Book of Boba Fett, December 2021. I loved it. I was like, yes, we're going to get more Boba Fett. But if you want to know what that means, you're going to have to stay tuned to our speculation video. Because we're going to have a bunch of ideas on what that is and what's going to happen with Din Djarin and the rest of the cast. My final thoughts on this episode, fantastic. I love seeing Din Djarin's story come full circle. We don't know what happens in the next season. I loved every second of it, and I hope you loved it as much as we did.
I agree, Rob. And again, every week I'm like, this is the best episode I've ever seen. This is hands down the best episode of the entire series. And just to see full circle, which again, besides Luke in his prime.
Oh yeah.
Post Return of the Jedi, now in his full prime as a Jedi Master, very akin to how we see his father Vader in Rogue One cutting up people. He's cutting up the Dark Troopers like nothing. Besides all that emotional stuff, the thing that hit me the hardest in this last episode, which is what I want to leave with everyone as well, and what to me is the essence of Star Wars, is when we see Luke in the movies. He's trained by Obi-Wan for a quick second, and then he sends him to Yoda. And Yoda trains him to the man he becomes now, and that we see, and this legend, this uber legend of this entire franchise that's still going strong 45 years later.
Yeah, wow.
And when we get Luke now taking Grogu, and you see how careful he is with him, he picks him up slowly, kind of holds him, like cradles him. That full circleness of Yoda training Luke, and now Luke's going to train Grogu, who is the same species as Yoda. Like, that is one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen.
It's like Luke's full circle, essentially.
It's Luke's full circle as well.
A Padawan to master. Yeah. Awesome.
And they did it in 10 minutes. Like, they did it in 10 minutes of Luke kind of on screen, right? Where he's this cloaked, like he's he's a blur. He's almost like death
Yeah.
going through these buildings, and you're like, Fennec and them are right to be afraid. They're like, don't open the doors. That guy just killed everybody. Who the hell is he? He's literally the Grim Reaper. And to see him take that cloak off, and everyone immediately gets calm, and everyone immediately, like, you see them kind of like their backs kind of like relax.
Exactly, a wave of calm hits them all.
It's just, it's one of the most beautiful things, and just, thank you to Jon Favreau and to Dave Filoni and George Lucas and to Peyton Reed, who directed Ant-Man, directed this as well. What a great way to take their vision and make it fulfilled. Again, one of the best Star Wars things I've ever seen. I'm going to go watch it again right now.
Guys, we want to hear your thoughts down in the comments below, what you thought of this episode. What was your favorite scene, your favorite moment? Did you get emotional like we did? And we hope to see you next in a couple of days. Nope. And we hope to see you in the next video where we do our speculations for season 3 and beyond.
And guys, thank you so much. Give us a thumbs up. It really helps the channel out a lot when you like our videos. If you're brand new or you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you subscribe, turn on notifications. You do not want to miss any more episodes like this or beyond. We got WandaVision coming out soon. We'll be doing a lot of stuff, a lot of new cool stuff for you guys as well. And as always, I'm Chris. That's Rob. We are the Jersey Comic Group. Thank you so much for watching. This is the way.